Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8. Welcome to the RuCap. Oh yes, there. God damn, I love that we do that now. And yes, we're just gonna keep adding hands. We're just gonna keep adding different hand gestures from Drag Race. Welcome to the RuCap with me, your host Alex Ringler. Let's go around, say who you are, where you're calling in from, and the last time you, I don't know, danced on a stage, if ever. I mean, that's not everybody's thing, but like, it happened to me recently. I was like, oh, I haven't done this in a minute. Awesome, cool. Russ, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Russ White, co-founder, co-producer of Q Life Media and the International Drag Queen Database, calling in from Las Vegas, Nevada. And the last time I danced on a stage, there would have been vodka involved, so hard to tell. But the last time I know was in 1987 in high school.
Yes, 87. I will say, speaking of vodka being involved with it, don't get on a stage with a drag queen. I know we're very pro drag here, but they will either like make you do something very ridiculous or make you take your clothes off, or both. So if they're ever like, hey, come up, get on stage and do something, be like, I'm good, thanks, bye, all right.
That's Michael, why the vodka was involved.
Yeah, no, you got it, be careful. Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Barbieri, a training and entertainment writer, calling in from New York. And the last time I danced on stage was actually at Lips here in New York. A drag queen called me up, and what did she do? She made me dance.
Yep, she makes you dance.
And I thought, oh God, here, oh no. And I tried to hide. And then I said, you know what? Fuck it. And I just...
Yeah!
and went crazy, and the crowd loved it, and I won.
Yeah, good job. I also want you doing this as a boomerang to just keep on my phone. Yeah. Yes. Oh, we'll get to her. We'll get to all of her. And one of our new panelists, Andrew. Hi.
Hello, I'm Andrew Lignelli. I'm calling in from Las Vegas, Nevada. And the last time I danced on a stage was, I think, about 2 months ago. I was an impromptu backup dancer for Shangela at Piranha here in Vegas.
It's all
helped her out.
Honestly, I know why I asked the question, because like, unless you're doing it like professionally, people dance when drag queens make them do it, and we're like that's what happens just in the gay world. Garrett, hey.
How's it going? My name is Garrett, calling in from Las Vegas, co-owner of Q Life and the new Drag Queen Database. The last time I danced on stage, I don't know, but I do think the world is a stage, and so everywhere I go, I'm pretty much like making a scene, dancing in my own mind, in my own world. So
we're fucking gay.
You very gay, but also you could even do it right now, and then that's the last time you danced on stage. There it is. The last time was today. Or the most current time, I should say, not the last. Christopher, hey boo.
Hi, my name is Christopher Henry. I'm calling in from Plymouth, Massachusetts. You don't need to know where that is. The last time I danced on stage, I was both made to do something ridiculous and take my clothes off. And it was the choreography of some vicious drag queen named Alex Ringler. And it was, yeah, that girl. And it was an off-Broadway production of Naked Boy Singing, which is exactly what it sounds like. A Christian show.
Family-oriented.
Yes. Also, it's my birthday, so tonight I probably will be taking my clothes off and dancing somewhere else as well.
Happy birthday,
before the bukkake.
We'll sing to at the end. We're not going to sing now. We're going to sing at the end. And the dreaded and feared, last but not least.
Yes, it is I, the dreaded and feared, Walter Kurtz, coming to you live from Donkey Mere, home of the Chandelier, in New York City, the world's most important and most celebrated metropolis. And to move things along quickly, the last time I danced on stage was in 10th grade in the musical Plenty of Money.
Nice. Is there video?
No. Oh, wait. I take that back. That last time, well, was there dancing? I played El Gallo in Fantastics years after that. If he danced, I danced on that. But other than that, no, that's it.
I don't think they had video back then.
I have video of the Fantastics.
Was it a Nickelodeon? One of those things you like had to put your eyes in and crank it and make it work?
Was it an oil painting?
See, I'm calling in from the Kirk Theater, which is where this Mr. Christopher Henry did his naked voice singing, choreographing a new show called The Musical About Star Wars. And I gotta say, Walter, you kind of look like a little Kylo Ren-ish right now, so I'm digging it. It's like kind of these guys are like the biggest nerds ever about Star Wars, and so I'm learning so much about Star Wars right now.
It's better than the Unabomber.
No, I love it. I really.
What's it about?
It's about Star Wars. It's a musical about Star Wars. But let's get to the question at hand, the current episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. I loved the Rachel Maddow thing. I loved she was there for that. I loved she contributed what she did. I was a little disturbed at the fact that a lot of the queens didn't seem to know how to read, or it's like, I know that like telepromptering is like very like hard. Like honestly, you have to be looking at a camera and reading at the same time and being like very like involved. And they teach classes on this, but it seemed like there were people speaking a native language aside and like maybe English being their second language aside, I forgave all that. There were a lot of queens who I think English was their first language, where I was like, you don't know how to read this certain word. I was like, is this where our education has gotten to in this country? Is this why they're bringing up Betsy DeVos in the main challenge? Like, maybe that's a thing. So maybe they were trying to point that out. Michael, you're shaking your head over there. What do you think about this?
It was embarrassing. I mean, cold reading is tough.
It's hard.
I've done it. I did it ages ago, but even at a much younger age, I could still read the cue cards in front of me. They had the camera was pointed through a hole in the card, and it was all written there. I read everything. I was fine. And I was much younger than any of those queens on the show, but I knew how to read.
Yeah, it was, bless their hearts.
Colonial
So I think,
Sanders.
And I get it if you've never seen a word before, but I'm like, I don't know if that's an excuse considering the age of all these queens too. Like, the youngest one is what, 22?
It does explain why we have the drag queens reading. It does explain why we have the drag queens reading to children.
Oh, that's true.
Listen, Silky's been to KFC before. She's seen the world Colonel Sanders.
She did know KFC.
Yeah.
Well,
let's get real.
She knew KFC. The fact that she said colonial and also said KFC, I'm like, then you know what you're supposed to be saying. Like, why not just say it? I mean, and I'm not trying to call anyone out for what sort of like education, anything. It's just like at a certain age, there's no excuse for not like knowing certain words.
Makes sense why she registered as a Republican, though.
Yeah.
Look, they were not asking the queens to calculate the square root of 433. Okay, they're asking them to read basic English.
Which is typically at a 5th or 6th grade level for the average.
Ginormous is not a weird word. Colonel is not a strange word. They're stupid.
Let them do the
people who couldn't read that, they might as well have just been holding up the sign and saying, I'm stupid. Because those are basic words.
And so, it made me feel bad for the queens, but it also made me feel bad like that the producers chose to like show like this bitch is a dummy, and I'm like, she's probably not a dummy, but learn.
She's a dummy.
Like, a little bit better. Like just go.
They didn't know the word sophisticated.
It was like sophisticated
that they're good at. You know, the glasses challenge. That's the only reading that I want to see drag queens do now.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, maybe this year now, maybe it will be an actual reading challenge. Like maybe instead of like reading people for Phil, they'll actually have to read a cue card and say sophisticated and Colonel.
Can you imagine the poor editor having to comb through all that footage of them like reading this so poorly? He's like, my God, I miss Kennedy Davenport. This shit is so
Bless her heart. Okay, moving on though. Then we get to the main challenge, which is a dance challenge with Giannis, who I think is fantastic. I love all of his videos. We're now at a point where, and I think I've said this 800 times, we're at a point in Drag Race where everybody knows what's happening. We know we're going to get a dance challenge. So is it an excuse anymore? It's in the vein of like, I don't sew. is it an excuse anymore to say, I don't dance, that's not what I do, and then should we be terrible at it? What do we think? Mr. Andrew, at this point, what do you think?
I think you need to be able to do something. At the end of the day, you're a queen, you're a performer. But unlike sewing, I think dancing is something that some people just can't learn.
Agreed. Kind of like
so
singing.
if you don't have the rhythm, you're not going to be good at it. But you got to be able to do enough to get by. You got to be able to follow simple steps. I think if Silky had gotten one of those more complicated roles, she probably couldn't have done it. She had simple moves for her role, and that's why she did so well. So I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think anyone truly bombed in the actual challenge either. Personally, they were a little messy, but once it got to it, they did good.
It's dance moves wise, I think everyone was pretty like they were on their stuff. Like then it became about the performance, which is why I think the bottom two were who they were. But no, I agree with you. I've tried as a choreographer and as a dancer. I've seen some people who just like do not know their left foot from their right foot, and there's nothing you can change about that. Or you can. It's still not going to be the product you want. And so, like,
anytime dancing makes your kneecaps pop off, don't do it.
Oh yeah, and please don't dance and pop your knees out. Like I was surprised to hear that though, because I remember her doing the back bend from last week, and I was like, this bitch is flexible. And I was like, oh, it's because of this. Yeah. Chris, what do you think about the challenges? Like,
well, I think if you
be good at everything these days to be a drag queen, or what do you think?
Well, I think you need to be good at something. I think if you're not a dancer like Alyssa Edwards, you should be, I didn't mean that to be shady, but I guess it came off that way. Oh, well. But you should be good at like stand-up comedy like Bianca Del Rio, or you could be a storyteller like Coco Peru, or be a good singer like Jinx Monsoon. It's like, if you don't do this, show us you do something. I mean, even if you're not a dancer like Alyssa or like Brooklyn, you could be a dancer in the vein of like Roxy, and like you can bust a move or something. The point is, you're supposed to be performers in some basic capacity. Like this isn't, we've all said this before, where it's a little frightening to see that drag is solely becoming about the look. It is about the look, but it can't be only, because then what can you do outside of Instagram and outside of just showing off your good look? It's like you are ultimately a performer being a drag queen. So I don't think you need to be a technically proficient dancer at the level of like Brooklyn.
Like Brooklyn, no. Yeah.
No, but you should be able to pull it, like do a basic step, you know, like do a body roll.
Change, or like be able to go to the ground without being like, how does that happen? Like,
yeah.
To me, it's like,
this isn't the show where you come to learn to do this stuff.
True.
This is the show that you come to where you're given access to the Todricks and the makeovers and all of this, and you should be refining your art because after you leave the show, you have a career.
You totally
not coming into the show trying to make a career.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And some people are just fresh off, like, Valentina. Like, she'd only been doing drag for like 7 months before she got on the show, and this gave her a great platform because she was so beautiful. But it's like, okay, this isn't the place to figure it out. I think you're completely right, Russ. It's very like, you need to come in knowing what the contest is, and it is a hard contest, and it's not for everybody. It's like, you can do your own thing as a drag queen and have a very successful career just doing that. This will up your game, and you'll have to do things outside your wheelhouse. But going into it, you know that's the deal. You know that's what's happening here. So to come in and be like, oh, I don't do that, it's like, not an excuse. You know what this is. So, sorry. Anywho, getting to the main challenge, we had the Trump musical. I didn't hate it, I will say. I think it ran about 17 minutes too long. I think, like, especially with most of the musicals now, I'm like, we don't need this much. And I know because it's a bigger cast, they need to like try to feature all of them a little bit. Oh, so long, so long. Garrett, what did you think of the main challenge this week?
First, is your friend doing the voices still of any of those?
I don't think Christina did them this week. I don't think she did.
It'd be better.
I'll check with her, but
I hate to feature Trump more than we have to, because good God, he doesn't deserve any attention. But at least it was negative attention, and the end message of women coming together and women being the future. I thought it was funny. I thought that Kellyanne Conway, Evie Oddly was hilarious. And it is a show. The White House is a show right now. It is a joke, so why not laugh at it, have fun with it? I thought it was funny. I laughed.
Yeah, I did too, and I didn't hate it as much as I've hated some other musicals, I will say.
Yes!
Garrett, you scared the fuck out of me. Jesus.
That guy, the guest judge. Oh my god.
Oh, Joel McHale.
Yes!
Let's talk about her later. I can't wait to hear that podcast, because I'm like, if Michelle was this over him and still had to interview him, I'm like, ooh. All right. Walter, what did you think of the challenge this week?
Well, I hated it because I am tired of every time I turn around, Donald Trump is smacking me in the face. It's just like politics is in every fucking thing. You can't go to McDonald's. And so you turn on Drag Race. Oh, and Trump. There it is again. Politics. So I'm over the whole political angle with entertainment. I don't find politics entertaining.
Well, I get that. And we've talked about it on the show before, being like, we come to Drag Race as kind of a little bit of a relief, and then the last couple seasons they've been peppering in politics, and it's like I don't want to watch CNN. I want to watch Drag Race. Like, so I understand that.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just the Trump thing. We had. The one queen, hi, I was harassed in college and I was threatened and I had fag on my door. And then the Muslim one is, oh my God, everybody thinks Muslims are terrorists. No, everybody does not think Muslims are terrorists. And then Evie has some sort of disease. It's like, good Lord, folks, can we just have fun?
Yeah, no, they need the drama now.
No, they don't. And if you think about the early episodes, none of that nonsense was going on. Yeah, there would be some conflict. People get pissed off at each other. Roxy's parents left her at the bus stop. Jinx's mother was an alcoholic or whatever.
She was a narcoleptic.
You know, but it was more about them and the fun and their experiences. And now it's an agenda, and it's so boring.
Yeah, it seems like they're pushing more of like those stories to kind of fill time in a way, I will say. I don't mind it too much. But I do mind it when it gets to be too much. And this week it was pushing it, I will say. I didn't mind it necessarily this week, but they're getting to a place at the moment. Chris, what did you think of the musical this week?
So I kind of agree with the sense of like, it's like with Trump and everything. And I felt the same way when we all discussed Will and Grace last year. I have no love for Trump, but I think there are certain formats in order to dissect it and to criticize him in a humorous way. SNL obviously does it and they're good at it. Murphy Brown used to do it back in the day. I thought certain venues are not properly equipped to do it. And it's just kind of jarring when you see them doing it. Like Will and Grace doing it was kind of jarring. Like as much as they did it was jarring to me. And the musical, I think you said it perfectly, Alex. It was way too, like that could have been maybe 6 or 7 minutes. Like that didn't need to be. I looked at my DVR and I was like, how do we still have a half hour to go? And I was like, oh, they're going to make this fucker long. And so it was, it wasn't the worst musical. The voices were kind of like, who did the voice of Rosie O'Donnell? Like who thinks that Rosie O'Donnell sounds like that? It was weird.
They to shit for not doing a good impersonation, and I was like, the voice actor did not do a good impersonation.
And the wigs were completely wrong. Yeah, I realized that it was Grease and they were trying to put it back in a different time and all of that. But like poor Mercedes, she was playing Ivanka. Ivanka has straight hair parted in the middle. Yeah. And she had this weird wig. The Hillary wig was wrong.
The Hillary wig was
Kelly
wrong.
Conway's wig was wrong. It just,
Michael,
the wigs were horrible.
Michael, you wanted to say something.
Oh, well, no, I was going to say the same thing, is that you couldn't really tell who was playing who because they didn't look like themselves. Yeah. And the voices didn't sound like them. So at one point, I just got lost.
Yeah, and that's one thing that Christina Bianco, who has been on the show before as a voice actor, did extremely well and does extremely well. She knows how to impersonate voices, and that's what you need if you're going to have iconic characters in a challenge, like so that the queens can attend to it and they can perform better, and the audience can as well. And Russ, you wanted to say something.
I wonder if that's what I liked about this challenge, was that if they had shifted it to something completely separate, then the caricatures that they created, if we weren't trying to identify with either the queen or the character they created, it wasn't a bad exercise. It wasn't a bad challenge. But because the music kind of felt good, because I wasn't paying 100% of attention last night. I was rewatching it this morning, and as I was listening to it, I'm like, that kind of sounds like Grease, but in some points it kind of sounded like Hairspray. So I could see how it could have been a better challenge if we didn't have to be forced to relate to one of the cast members or one of the queen or one of the characters.
Hairspray sounding like Grease is a bigger conversation we don't have time for today.
There were points that the music did it, trust me.
I get that. Andrew, I don't know if you've been on the panel when we've talked about this, with the musical challenges, the acting challenges. Is it more a writing problem? Is it more a performance problem? Is it both? I think we talked about an acting challenge once, but what did you think of the musical? Like, did the writing make the performances worse or vice versa? What do you think about that?
The writing definitely can make or break it.
Yeah.
And before I came on, I was watching, and I know I've heard a lot of criticism about the acting challenges and the musicals and things like that. I actually really like them. I think they're really entertaining for me.
Yeah, Garrett.
I get bored watching them sit and sew. That takes a little bit more talent in certain ways, but then when they're actually doing a performance like that, even if they bomb it, it's still more entertaining for me personally to watch.
Okay.
That being said, this was the most boring musical I've ever seen in the history of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Worse than the Farmarusical one?
Yeah, I think so. I got lost. I had no idea what was going on. I had to really pay attention. And the only thing I really enjoyed was Ginger Minge's cameo as Trump.
I kind of was Chaz Bono. Because he was in shadow, and I was like, is that Chaz? If it was Chaz, I thought it'd be fantastic. But I love Ginger as well.
Another thing is with Mercedes as Ivanka, how can you play someone, how can you do a parody of someone who has nothing to parody? I mean, Ivanka is just such a boring white girl. There's nothing interesting or discernible about her. And how are you supposed to? So Mercedes was at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah.
And
the same thing,
fast.
honestly, I think with what's her name?
Raja?
Omarosa. Omarosa really doesn't have anything interesting to portray.
She does. It's in her voice, and that was taken away from her. It's the voice actor's job in that role, and it was nothing. So
Nina West as Huckabee Sanders, though, was pretty good.
Nina West was good. She came off well, and Ivana.
Well, because he looked like her also.
Completely. That's true. She looked a little bit more like her.
And Plastique looked like Melania.
She did.
Yeah.
Those she did the eyes perfectly.
Those were the three that came off the best.
Yeah, completely. I agree with you guys. Then we get to the runway. It's the orange challenge, which I'm like, the only one I hated, because I thought they all looked pretty gorgeous this week. And I loved Evie's. I thought it was so fun. What was the I forget her name because there's still so many of them and I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was just rhinestones and an orange wig. What was it?
Akira.
I was like, so for orange you wore orange wig and rhinestones. Okay. That's a choice.
Smart.
She was one of my favorites. I liked that.
Choices.
But I don't think it was the challenge. I was like, there's nothing orange about what you're wearing except for your wig. So it's like you have a red challenge. You're gonna wear a red wig?
Wear orange rhinestones.
What do you think about then?
There weren't
I saw a necklace. That had orange rhinestones. The actual costume itself, I saw 0. So maybe I didn't see them, but I saw that and I was like, it seemed like a cop out to me.
So Alex, what do you think?
I thought the tops and the bottoms were completely correct. So,
Andrew, what were you saying?
There were like 3 or 4 one-piece bathing suits.
Yeah, we're still getting that. Andrew, what were you saying there?
I was saying that with that, then what do you think of Sugar Cane dressed up as Trump? Because her outfit wasn't orange either.
Yes, but I think that's a comedic turn on it. It's
And
in
the
the vein
face
of
was
Milk,
very
the
orange.
RuPaul challenge. It's in the vein of Milk doing the RuPaul challenges as male Ru, who everyone thought would be read to filth, and they were like, "Oh, that's a funny interpretation of the challenge." So it had a comedic and a smart twist to it. I think the other outfit was just like a cop out, personally, but she was safe because she was in the top. She was in the top, so it's not up to me. It's up to Ru. Walter, what did you think of the challenge this week runway?
I thought it was okay. But other than knowing that Evie Oddly was going to be in the top and Mercedes was going to be in the bottom, I didn't have a clue who the tops and the bottoms were going to be. Not a clue. Even when they were called out at the 6, I thought, okay, Evie and Mercedes. The others, no idea who the tops and bottoms
I agree.
That's like our panel.
I think everybody can safely guess who's the top and the bottom here.
Okay, but yeah, no, I agree. Like when they called everyone forward, it was kind of like the course line call out. It's like, did they get the job? Did they not? Like, who knows? Like, it was like, oh, those are in the top. Okay, I guess. I could kind of tell performance-wise, and I wasn't mad at Miss Ganache winning this week. I think she did great as Oprah, even though she didn't want to do it. I was like, girl, sometimes you have to be like when you're Derek Barry, you have to be Britney in Snatch Game. Like, don't choose your other choice. Like, just do what's going to look the best and perform the best. And she fucking nailed it. She walked out. I was like, oh, that's Oprah. I was like, oh, come on, Oprah. Garrett,
color purple Oprah.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Garrett, what do we think of the runway this week?
I liked a lot of the costumes. I will say, that they were spot on with their critiques, the judges, and I am. If Vanjie could have worn red, I'm sure she would have. I thought that the futuristic plastic look was my favorite.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn Heights. Yeah. Look was my favorite of all of them because it was something different and futuristic, and I'm actually becoming a really big fan of Brooklyn and just kind of doing stuff different. And Evie Oddly was fun for me.
Well, no, Brooklyn's coming out as a contender, definitely. But speaking of contenders, so we had the runway, we had the lip sync, we had the bottom two, who I think were basically, that's the bottom two this week. And bless Mercedes' heart, I love that they gave her backstory this week, but when they were giving her backstory for so long, I was like, oh, she's probably being eliminated this week. That's probably why they're giving her so much screen time right now. Because she just didn't seem that interesting of a queen to me, but there's always All-Stars, there's always that after this. And just one thing, we critique this show. We critique it because we love it and we love the queens, and we're all glad that they have this platform for them to up their careers. So I don't know if it's said enough, but we'll critique, but we love y'all. So don't get mad at us. We're on your side. We're just
all terrible.
Okay. We're all terrible. No, we critique because we love. So that being said, I'm still not sure who's tops and bottoms for me. I don't know a top four. I'm thinking of Brooklyn Heights. I'm thinking of Vanjie will be in there. Even though she stumbled a little bit this week, I think she has her eye on the prize at this point. Russ, do you have any tops or someone you think should go? You're muted.
Yes, I think my top four is Silky, Vanjie, Brooklyn, and Scarlett.
Scarlett's a contender too, especially she's banging out some challenges here. Michael,
I really liked her dress, and she said she made the whole dress, which
I wasn't thrilled with the hemline at the bottom. That was my only thing with it. But other than that, I think she did look gorgeous. Yeah.
But to do that Michael, big on your own, pretty good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's hard to I can't make a dress. So, Michael, what did you think?
I think Brooklyn, Vanjie, Scarlett, Evie. Those are my top four.
That's a strong top 4. Yeah, and it's starting to become more obvious, I would say. But yeah, I think you're on the right track there.
By the way, can I just one thing? We were talking about Joel McHale.
We were
Earlier on about the yes. Does anyone, Christopher, or does anyone remember a guy who had a public access show named Barry Z?
Yeah. He interviewed me for a play I did.
He used to come to cabaret shows and sit in the back and go, yeah, after every single number. And everyone in the audience started doing Michelle Visage. Everyone was going.
I thought, given the context, though, of this, like, bro-y straight guy who does comedy and everything, who you would never, like, pick for this show in a million years, kind of being rather than like just sitting there like and all the internet goes, look how uncomfortable he is, what a fucking homophobe, like kind of enjoying it and getting into it, like at least on like Bobby Moynihan, like I kind of knew he was there, you know. I get now I understand next to Michelle's ear, I'm sure that was probably really annoying, but
that's I think he did it one time. And Michelle was like, ugh, what are you doing? And because she had that reaction, he did it 800 more times because he's like, this is funny now.
And that's a Joel McHale thing to do. If anybody's watched The Suit, they know that's a Joel McHale thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you get a reaction out of Michelle.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear that interview. I need to listen to it on the train ride home. Andrew, do you have a top 2 or 4, 6, 8?
For the most part, I agree with everyone else. Evie, Vanjie, Brooklyn. I still think Akira could make it.
Yeah, I didn't like her look this week, but I'll allow it. Garrett, top 4 too.
Top 2 for sure, Evie, and I like Nina West. I like Brooklyn Heights, and probably Miss Vanjie, just because she's Miss Vanjie. I do like Silky though. I think Silky's a lot of fun, and she do well in all the challenges. I don't know.
She's you know, she's out there and she's a big personality, and now she has some controversy being like Republican, like also she's a PhD, like she's got a lot going on, so it's a lot of good TV. So I could see her going
gerrymandering. He's only registered that way so they didn't do the gerrymandering maps.
You can't even spell gerrymandering.
They can't read gerrymandering. They proved that in the mini challenge. Christopher, go ahead.
I mean, I kind of sadly agree on Silky, just because the show seems to clearly be setting her up, and they're like, she's a star, and I'm like,
she's an annoying star.
This bitch, like she's. I mean, I guess what defines a star in 2019 has changed since when we were coming up in the day. But so her, Vanjie, her, Miss Van, who even though some might find her annoying, I find Vanjie to be very charming and authentically stupid in an endearing way. And
even the mini challenge where she was like, they were showing all the queens trying to read, and she was just like, "What?"
It's charming when she does it. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's like they said with Alyssa. It's just, it is what it is. Whereas Silky, not so much. But yeah, Nina, Silky, Vanjie, and Brooklyn. And I think if for nothing else than the fact that they've all gotten good camera time and seem to be doing fairly well on the challenges, we're also seeing, we hinted at it earlier, this not contrived, not reality show romance between Miss Vanjie and Brooklyn Heights. And I feel like that's probably going to make its way throughout the season, because they've never done it before on this show.
We haven't had Kai Kai before. Well, not in the same season. I don't think. But,
yeah, Alaska and Sharon were in different seasons.
That and we're forgetting
Jinx and Ivy
and Ara. They were on different seasons, right?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. May she rest. Walter, top 4, top 2?
Top 4, but before I even say what the top 4 is, I've started rewatching season 5, which I think is the best season that they ever did, because it had so many classic people. And I thought, you know, even the top 4 of this particular season wouldn't have made the top 6 of season 5, you know? Yeah. So with that said, top 4, Evie, Silky, Brooklyn, Vanjie, and I keep forgetting that Scarlett is even on the show. I think it's interesting. Other people like her. When they say her name, I go, "Oh, that's right." She's on the show.
And I understand that. I understand that because it's, I don't know. There is something about her. She's doing well in the challenges, but she's not like standing out other than that. So
Might be a Tammy Brown. She looks so much like Tammy Brown.
That's true. Well, okay, kids. So still anybody's game. We have our tops and our bottoms. Bye, Mercedes. Love seeing you. But yeah, until next week. Wait, what was the teaser for the challenge next week? What was it? Someone inform me.
What is the teaser for the challenge?
Did we not see it?
We did.
I saw it and I repressed it. Like so much.
Elvira is a guest judge.
All right. Well, okay. Then I will go back and rewatch because I clearly didn't do my job.
That's how memorable it was.
That's how memorable it was. Yeah. Okay. But until next week, my kiddies. Thanks for watching, Ru. Thanks for watching us, and bye.
Bye.
Bye.